Crawford needs to fight Teofimo first, and then we'll see, right? At the end of the day, like I said before, I'm not asking for that fight. They wanna make that fight because it's a payday, obviously. But I don't want that fight. I think Teofimo deserves more than me.
It's a great fight. People want to see it, then we'll do it. You know, I don't say no to any fight. You know, as long as it's eye catching and eye candy to all of you that are watching right now, that's what really matters. You know. So, however, my main focus is truthfully Crawford, and I know so it is.
Teofimo Lopez has recently voiced his interest in fighting both Terrence Crawford and Jaron "Boots" Ennis. Meanwhile, Canelo Alvarez has been making headlines for reportedly getting involved in a dispute with His Excellency Turki Alalshik. This has caused complications for Crawford's future plans, as Turki recently stated he no longer wants to arrange a fight between Canelo and Crawford. According to him, Canelo was demanding $15 million for the fight, an amount Turki called unreasonable. "I've decided to move on from the Canelo fight. I don't want it anymore," Turki said. "I'll be focusing on building the US market with bigger and more meaningful fights, especially for legends like Terrence." Later, Turki clarified his stance, saying his priority is to create fights that are both profitable and entertaining, something he felt Canelo wasn't genuinely interested in. "I knew he was wasting our time," he wrote. "He kept throwing out excuses and asking for money no one can realistically pay. So now, I'm focusing on putting together major fights that matter to the boxing world, while Canelo goes off chasing easy fights." Canelo was quick to respond, following a heated press conference and his bout with Edgar Berlanga, which nearly escalated into a brawl. Canelo claimed he never took the Crawford fight seriously due to the weight difference between them. "I respect Crawford, but he's just not a challenge for me, especially after how he performed against Spence."
Crawford is a great fighter, and I don't want to talk about that. He's a great fighter, and I have nothing to with.
Canelo seemed visibly frustrated with how the deal was handled. He mentioned he might have accepted the offer under different circumstances, but not under the conditions proposed by the Saudi camp. "I don't like how they do business," he said, hinting at previous tensions with Turki. According to Canelo, the best option for Crawford now would be a fight with Teofimo Lopez, who he called the top talent at 140 pounds. "Lopez deserves a shot," he added.
Crawford needs to fight Teofimo first, and then we'll see, right? At the end of the day, like I said before, I'm not asking for that fight. They want to make that fight because it's a payday, obviously. But I don't want that fight. I think Teofimo deserves more.
Canelo's remarks have shifted the spotlight onto Teofimo Lopez, reigniting old debates about a potential matchup between him and Terrence "Bud" Crawford. Given Lopez's repeated calls to face big names like Crawford, Gervonta Davis, and Jaron Ennis, it seems he may finally be closing in on the elite fights he's been chasing for a long time.
Making boxing great again. That's what I came back to do. Because I know as long as I keep facing the fighters, calling out champions like Terrence Crawford, that people are like, this man's crazy. Well, yeah, I'm crazy. I mean, I'm crazy to be great. When was that a problem? You know, and I mentioned that Roberto Duran fought all 4 kings or 3 kings and was a guy that everyone respects highly. Muhammad Ali faced Joe Frazier and so many other great champions that, you know, and got dropped in front of the world, in front of him. Like, who cares? You go and you stand.
After watching the recent fight between Sean Cowan and Moth, Teofimo Lopez shared his thoughts on Terrence Crawford's performance, suggesting that age might finally be catching up to the welterweight champion. "That wasn't the Crawford we're used to seeing," Teofimo said, visibly frustrated. "The fire just wasn't there. I feel like this is my chance. I need to face him now before time does any more damage." Lopez emphasized the urgency of securing a fight with Crawford, calling it his golden opportunity. He added, "Age is already catching up to him. All I can say now is, let's see what he does next. But I believe it should be me." He also commented on a potential bout with Jaron "Boots" Ennis, one of the most prominent names in the welterweight division and current IBF world title holder. "I have nothing but respect for Boots. We've known each other for a long time. It's a great matchup, and if the fans want it, we'll make it happen. I never turn down a good fight, especially if it's eye-catching and exciting for everyone watching. Despite several potential matchups, Teofimo remains focused on fighting Crawford above all. Truthfully, my main goal is still Bud. I know he's thinking about it too. We'll see how things unfold this year and next. That fight could be a huge stepping stone in my career. However, not everyone shares Teofimo's optimism. Crawford's longtime trainer and supporter, Brian "Bomac" McIntyre, didn't hold back after Crawford's recent win. In a fiery response, he dismissed Teofimo's calls for a fight as unrealistic. "This isn't even a serious conversation," Bomac said. "Teofimo brings nothing to the table that would interest Bud. Even if he did, he's not the fighter he used to be. He's lost that shine."
Actually adamant in calling out Terrence Crawford, saying that that's his match.
He don't bring to the table neither. Trash, he trash. He used to be good, but now he trash. You heard it first. Y'all put it out there. He trash. You trash. You straight trash, dog.
In a recent segment, respected boxing analyst Adola Depo weighed in on the ongoing situation involving Canelo Alvarez, Terrence Crawford, and Teofimo Lopez. Addressing the buzz surrounding a potential Canelo versus Crawford superfight, Depo expressed doubts about the matchup ever happening. He pointed to Crawford's recent performance against Israel Madov. While technically sound, it lacked the explosive impact needed to justify a jump to the 168-pound division. "It was a solid win," Depo said, "but not the kind of performance that generates the excitement you need to push a fight of that magnitude." Depo praised Israel Madov for his grit and effort but hinted that fans were expecting something more from Crawford, especially given the magnitude of what could be at stake. A standout showing was necessary to really build hype, and this fight just didn't deliver that level of drama.
Maybe. Number one, I think Crawford needed to look exceptional against Madrimov, so we know that, okay, he's now good at 154, he can maybe take that double jump to 168. Although he looked good, he didn't look exceptional, and that's no slight on Crawford. Madrimov's a very good fighter, but I felt like we needed to see something a bit special for us to get really excited.
Financial roadblocks continue to complicate the possibility of a Canelo Alvarez versus Terrence Crawford superfight. According to sources close to the situation, His Excellency Turki Alalshik extended an offer to Canelo, which was reportedly rejected. One of the main issues? Canelo's staggering demand. Over $100 million just to step into the ring. This figure alone has cast serious doubt on whether the fight will ever happen, with insiders admitting that such a demand is a major obstacle in moving negotiations forward.
Maybe Canelo's demands are just too big. I think Turki said that he sent an offer to Canelo. I think Canelo's rejected it, and I think I saw an interview, or at least read something about Canelo wanting, I think, over 100 million. So, yeah.
As the saga continues, it's becoming clear that this potential blockbuster is no longer about legacy, it's about the money. And a big paycheck is the only thing that could make it happen. Renowned boxing commentator Jim Lampley weighed in on the situation, pointing out the stark contrast between the two fighters. Crawford is the sport's pound-for-pound number one, and Canelo is the number one when it comes to earnings. Lampley emphasized that as Crawford approaches the tail end of his career at 36, he's working with a limited window to cash in on high-reward opportunities. Fighters go to bed dreaming of being number one pound-for-pound, he said, but when the kind of money that's being thrown around becomes real, it changes everything. Lampley made it clear that a fight against Canelo might be the only path for Crawford to reach the elite level of financial success. Crawford can only get to that kind of payday through one man, Canelo. He's the number one $4 guy in the sport. Canelo's recent business decisions reflect this financial focus. His switch from Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing to Ul Heyman's Premier Boxing Champions, PBC, was largely seen as a money move. The PBC deal reportedly earned him over $100 million across 3 fights, highlighting how major financial incentives have been steering his career choices. Currently, Canelo is set to face Edgar Berlanga, a surprise shift after months of anticipation for a showdown with David Benavidez. The Benavidez fight was stalled, reportedly due to Canelo's high financial demands. Canelo addressed the issue directly in a podcast, explaining that Benavidez presents serious risk due to his size and skill. He brings 25 pounds more into the ring on fight night, Canelo said, but I'm not afraid of that. If the money is right, I'll beat him tomorrow. As for what that right money is, Canelo revealed he'd only consider stepping in the ring with Benavidez for $250 million, and under no circumstance would he accept anything less than $200 million.
If someone's willing to put up the $250 million,
I mean,
would you negotiate down?
no less than 200.
No less than 200.
Ooh.
All right, let's get 200. Hey, y'all, enough people in the room. Let's get the money.
In response to critical remarks made by Terrence Crawford's team, particularly trainer Brian "Bo-Mac" McIntyre, Teofimo Lopez Sr. stepped in to defend his son. Clearly upset, he labeled the comments a mockery, stating that his son is currently the best fighter at 140 pounds. For Bo-Mac to say those things just shows they don't want to face my son, Lopez Sr. said. Teofimo is a smart, agile, and skilled fighter, and is ready to fight Crawford anytime. Lopez Sr. made it clear that Teofimo is willing to move up in weight to make the fight happen. We're going up to 147 for this fight. And if Crawford doesn't want it at 147, we'll do a catchweight, 150, even 154. Whatever it takes. Despite criticism following Teofimo's latest bout against Steve Claggett, Lopez Sr. argued that critics are being hypocritical. People forget he beat Josh Taylor easily. Nobody else could have done that, he said. My son reads his opponents. He knows their moves before they make them. However, not everyone agrees with Lopez SR's assessment. Many in the boxing world have pointed out that while Teofimo did defeat Josh Taylor via unanimous decision, the performance wasn't dominant enough to justify a matchup with an elite, undisputed champion like Crawford, especially considering Crawford's reputation, even as he ages.
A lot of things that do not. So, yes, he is one of those guys who fights the difficult fights. He goes after the guys, like you said, Champ, Paulie, that, you know, he's sought after these big fights. He also fights a lot of these tough guys that people don't want to fight. The Sandor Martins of the world, the Jermaine Ortizes of the world. Those are tough outs, and you don't get a lot for beating them. And then when you get raked over the coals when you don't.
Former world champion and boxing analyst Chris Algieri added his perspective, praising Teofimo Lopez for taking on challenges others avoid. Say what you want about his antics, but Teo doesn't shy away from big fights, he said. He's willing to go up against bigger, tougher guys, and that says a lot. Still, Algieri also called out Lopez for what he sees as inconsistency. It's hard to take him seriously when he complains about being overlooked but refuses to fight any of the top guys currently in his own weight class, Algieri noted. There are great matchups waiting at 140, yet he only talks about Crawford.
Matchups, when you're starting to chase dragons and gorillas, like I always say, like the Terrence Crawfords of the world.
Lions and tigers and bears.
Yeah, and lions, tigers, bears, dragons. You start chasing these kinds of fights, it turns the fans off because you have a ton of tigers that you can actually fight all around you. And
echoing earlier remarks made by Brian "Bo-Mac" McIntyre, boxing analyst Chris Algieri reiterated that Terrence Crawford has little to no interest in fighting Teofimo Lopez. From Algieri's perspective, the matchup simply isn't appealing for someone of Crawford's stature. Crawford never brings up Teofimo because it's not a real fight. It's not even on the table, Algieri said. Teo should be focused on guys in his own weight class. There's plenty of tough competition right around him. I don't see how he can just jump up 3 divisions to fight Terrence where he is right now. However, former world champion and analyst Pauli Malignaggi disagreed. Speaking on the same broadcast, Malignaggi supported Teofimo's bold approach, suggesting that chasing big fights like Crawford could actually help him prove himself on the world stage. He calls these guys out, but they don't want to fight him, Pauli argued. They say they've got other things going on, different networks, or whatever excuse. But the truth is, nobody really wants to fight Teofimo Lopez. Using Teo's most recent fight as an example, Malignaggi emphasized that staying in his division might only result in lackluster matchups. If he gives up on chasing the top guys, he'll get stuck fighting the Steve Claggetts of the world. Solid fighters, sure, but not big names that bring out the best in him. Timothy Bradley, another respected voice in boxing, echoed this sentiment, saying there's nothing wrong with a fighter setting their sights on elite opponents. In this sport, If you want to make a name, you've got to chase the big opportunities. And that's exactly what Teofimo seems to be doing.
Man, he's the type of fighter that fights to the level of his competition. So if he fights a guy like Crawford, he's going to show up and he's going to...
Responding to the frequent criticism that is only targeting Terrence Crawford for clout and a payday, Teofimo Lopez defended his intentions by highlighting the shared ambitions of all professional fighters. At the end of the day, every fighter wants to build a name and leave behind a legacy, Teofimo said. I want to fight the best guy who also gives me the biggest payday. That's not chasing attention, it's chasing greatness. However, respected trainer Greg Hackett wasn't buying it. He dismissed Teofimo's narrative, claiming that his pursuit of Crawford is unrealistic and hollow. According to Hackett, Lopez should be focusing on legitimate matchups within his own division rather than aiming for a fighter like Crawford, who has already moved up in weight. Bud doesn't need Teofimo. He's got no one left to prove himself against, Hackett said. But Teofimo? He's got a long list of guys to fight. Stop chasing clout. Hackett went further, saying if the fight ever did happen, Crawford would win decisively due to his overwhelming advantages. You come in looking small, and Bud's knocking you out, Hackett said. He's just too much skill, too much experience, too much size. It's not even close. As for Teofimo's repeated callouts, Hackett labeled them as part of a growing trend where fighters target more famous opponents for headlines rather than for competition. He's capitalizing on Bud's popularity, Hackett noted. That's the real motive here.
I feel like Teo did that because Bud got a buzz right now, and it would seem crazy, it would seem out of this world if Teo took a fight like that and nobody saw it coming, so let me use his name. It's just like other fighters use other fighters' names.
Echoing those sentiments, former world champion Antonio Tarver also weighed in, stating clearly that he would pick Crawford to win easily if a fight against Teofimo Lopez ever materialized. Crawford is just better, period, Tarver said. Teofimo has some great tools, sure, but they don't match up with what Bud brings to the ring. Tarver pointed to the clear gap in physicality, ring IQ, and championship-level experience, ultimately concluding that while Lopez is talented, he's not ready for a fight of that magnitude.
Man, want to talk about magic, man. I got Crawford because I see him being a bigger Teofimo.
Yeah.
He's a bigger Teofimo that can do everything. Ooh. You feel me? Ooh. Yeah, bigger Teo. Teo got all the intangibles, power, boxing, everything. Yeah. But I think Crawford has that too, but he's bigger.
Despite facing criticism from much of the boxing community, Teofimo Lopez remains locked in on his goal of fighting top-tier opponents. Most recently, he once again brought up the name of Jaron "Boots" Ennis, one of the most dominant fighters in the welterweight division, known for his exceptional record of 32 wins, 29 of which came by knockout. Given the shared history between Teofimo and Ennis and the hype surrounding a recently resurfaced clip of their old sparring session, a potential bout between the two would undoubtedly capture the attention of hardcore boxing fans. Not only would it provide fireworks inside the ring, but it could also help determine who truly sits at the top of the welterweight heap.
Like Teo did that because Bud got a buzz right now, and it would seem crazy, it would seem out of this world if Teo took a fight like that and nobody saw it coming, so let me use his name. It's just like other fighters use other fighters' names.
On the other hand, veteran boxing analyst Dan Raphael offered a different perspective. According to Dan, both Ennis and Crawford should focus on fighting each other rather than getting involved with Teofimo Lopez, who, in his view, doesn't bring enough value to the table at this stage. Boots is a welterweight, Dan stated. If he moves up a division and the money's right, I think both he and Crawford would do it. That's the fight to make. Dan also shed light on what may have caused Turkey Alec to abandon the high-profile Canelo versus Crawford fight: Canelo's stubbornness over the financial terms. Canelo didn't kiss the ring, Dan said, suggesting that Alec pulled out after failing to reach an agreement with the Mexican superstar. Even though that particular bout may never happen, Dan confirmed that Alec still wants to deliver a major fight for Crawford, potentially against Ennis or even Teofimo Lopez. So what do you think? Dan asked, wrapping up his segment. Was Turkey right to walk away from Canelo versus Crawford? And should Teofimo really be going after Bud? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.